Okay, Joro spider. I guess I'm saying that right. These things are taking over North Georgia. Every time I come out here, I have more of them to deal with. Okay, welcome everybody. Make sure we're filming here. Okay. Yeah, those Joro spiders, I guess what they call them. They come in here, they sit in a shipping container or something, Brazelton, Georgia, and just kind of spread from there. They make a big old heavy golden web. Man, they're here by the thousands. So anyway, another gift from Asia. What we're looking at today is we're going to talk about, kind of doing a basic setup on a Squier Affinity. This is kind of one of the deals here where Big Brother bought a Strat and he played it a few times and it got put in the top of the attic and or the garage or wherever. Now little brother wants to play. So we're going to try to do a little cleaning up, setting up and everything on this thing and try to make it the best it can be for what it is. So that's what we're going to be into today. I'm going to pretty much just, it's so dirty. I mean, it's even got lint and it's navel here. We're going to, it's just really, really dirty. I'm going to pull the rusty strings off, pretty much just pull everything down. And then we're going to, have something clean to start with, and we're going to set it up and put it back together. Okay, somebody's pretty much stripped out the screw holes. I guess they thought they needed to tighten those as tight as they would go. That may be something we have to address. They have to do a little plugging, re-drilling, whatever. We'll see what it looks like when we go back with it. I did plug it in, and it does work. The reason I'm taking all this down, it's just a lot easier to clean it if it's just took apart. We're going to reset up everything. There's no reason not to. Try to clean it best we can. This is like I said, an Affinity. I think it's like a 08 model. Tight pocket, sandpaper shim in there, most likely from the factory. Single ply pick guard. I believe an Affinity's a 9.5 inch radius on the fretboard. Okay, and that's what we got inside. Typical what we usually have. 500K pots, you know, cheap pickups. Some of them sound great though, nothing wrong with them. Body is routed for a humbucker, single humbucker, however you want to do it. So there's your route. So these are the thinner bodies than the fenders. One reason you don't get why your Squier is not as good as a fender. Stuff like this. That's what it is. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and clean everything on up. I'm gonna probably pull the tuners off, start cleaning everything up, then we'll come back to it. Okay, got the body clean, got the neck clean, removed the tuners where we could get to everything, clean it good, cleaned out the truss rod hole a little bit, still got a little bit of stuff, but it'll be all right. There we go. Okay, leveled the frets, and say leveled the frets. Most of these guitars like this, in this price range, whatever, if you watch a video on how they manufacture these things, it's a wonder they even play. Man, they run those things through there fast. A lot of times these frets just don't get seated well. And what I use is a block, small fret hammer, and take my fret rocker, check them, tap them, You know, usually they'll set down. Don't, you know, you'll figure out real quick if that's going to work. You know, don't just beat it into the fretboard. I mean, if it's too high, it's too high. But most of the time, you can kind of reseat these frets. It's not just manufacturing; it's contracting and expanding wood will cause them to move. So that's, you know, a lot of times people freak out and they get their straight edge out, their fret thingamajig, and they start grinding down the frets when all they had to do is just tap them down a little bit. You know, no recrowning, no nothing. Just tap them down. These are extremely green and crusty. I mean, I did clean the fretboard with some mean green, but the fret ends are all good on this thing. They're you know, no sharp nothing sticking out. They're all good. What I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna take a piece of 400 grit paper and I'm just gonna run that over the edges. And this is over the edge of the fretboard, edge of the frets, just lightly, a few times, just to polish those edges just a little bit, and just slightly take a little edge off of this fretboard. That's all I'm doing. Not getting carried away, not using 80 grit paper, 400 grit, and it makes a big difference in how it makes it a lot more comfortable to play. Just that little slight thing right there. Don't want to get too wild with it. Oh yeah. So, you know, that makes a big difference in how that feels. Okay. So next I'm going to clean the frets with steel wool and clean the fretboard up. Okay, got our fretboard all cleaned and oiled, frets polished up, the ends kind of rounded up, everything cleaned up. You know, we're looking good on that. So as far as the cleaning part of the neck, that we got that done. Set it over here out of the way. Now I've cleaned the body. Now we're gonna polish it up a little bit. And we're gonna be using Meguiar's cleaner wax. We're not using guitar polish because there's no use to waste guitar polish on a poly finish. Whatever you wax your car with, you can wax your poly finished guitar. It's nothing but plastic. That's what it is, with a little bit of color. Anybody that strips these down, you know, you're surprised at the small amount of paint that's actually under here. I mean, it's very little paint. It's all plastic. Gives it that wonderful tone. Which that would start a controversy about tone. What kind of finish you have on your guitar and how it affects tone, but it does. I've tried it. I didn't used to believe that, but I have tried it. I've taken guitars that had thick poly finishes on them, stripped them down and put other finishes like nitro on it, and it makes a difference. It really does. I don't know why, how. Well, I do know why and how, but anyway, that's going to clean up pretty good. Looking pretty great. Make this thing shine. Take a few of the little places out of it. that was kind of looked worse than they really were. And some places they're just where they are. A couple places where there was a little bit of white paint, and I was able to take a 3000 grit pad and remove that little bit of paint off of there. It's always white paint. I don't know why, like with old lamps. The Tolex always has little sprinkles of white paint. Never red, blue, always white. Okay, I'm going to finish polishing this up, put the neck back on. We'll start on the hardware. Okay, got down to the point where we're going to clean the pick guard, and I happen to think that I had this pick guard that I ordered, it came with the end chipped off, and it's one of those things, is it worth your time and trouble to ship it back? And I said no, so I've just held on to it. So I'm going to attempt to glue the end back on it, but I've got to get our plastic all off of here first. So that's going to make this thing look a little bit better. Sorry for all the noise, but I had to turn the AC on. It was getting a little warm in here. Two layers of plastic. Okay. All right, I've already scraped that off of that. What I use on this is wax paper to keep the glue, so I don't glue the pick guard to the table. And if my glue ain't set up solid, we're going to attempt this. And I'm not that shaky. I had to really push on that glue to get it to come out. Alright, we'll let that sit there for a minute, see if it holds, and that'll look a little better than this thing. But I'm still going to take everything out of here and try to clean it. Very, very crusty. The knobs are pretty dirty, so going to be a little while with that. Let this glue dry, but that's a little trick. If you're using glue, use wax paper. The glue won't stick to it. That way you don't glue something to your work table. So, going to be doing that. Got this saddle. It's got to be saddle. Bridge with saddles that's got to be cleaned up. A little bit rusty, crusty. Got to clean it up. Clean up the jack a little bit. We're going to get all this out. Spray the pots out good. Switch everything from there over to here. So that's what we're up to next. Now that I got the pickups out, got those cleaned up, we're gonna spray these pots a little bit. Try to get some of the dirt out of them, get them moving free. They're just the little dime size 500K pots, short shaft. Get in there. Get in there. There we go. A little bit of this works as good as a whole lot. I'll put a whole lot in there. And I'm not sure how much good it's going to do on this switch. And I'm going to stick a little bit in it just for good measure. Okay, so there's our electronics all cleaned up, ready to go back in. Still got the knobs, the trim, the tuners, all that stuff has to be cleaned up. And I would film all this, but it's rather boring. But we'll get to the setup and all that once I get this put back together. All right, we're coming along pretty well. Got our pick guard on. I still like screwing in the screw where we had the broke piece on the pick guard. Kind of giving that a little more time. It's right where the screw goes in. Kind of unusual, but I only had to re-drill one hole right here. Everything else, all the screws lined up. So that was great. Looks a little bit better than the plain white single ply guard did. So that's going to be a little upgrade. Got the pickup covers cleaned, the knobs cleaned, everything, you know, sprayed and pots cleaned out. So, you know, we're cracking right along, as they say. So, you know, next I'm going to get the trim cleaned up, get it put back in, the strap buttons put back on, tuners clean, put back in. Then we're going to be ready for, well, the input jack, be ready for strings, doing a little setup work. Okay, we're just about there. This has been a longer video than I wanted it to be, but it's actually been very short considering the time that I've put into this. But you know, we're ready to put on the tuners, string trees. But we've made a big improvement over what we started with. We're going to have something really nice. So we'll get our tuners put on, get our string trees on, get a set of strings on it. Then we'll be able to see if all our work's been worthwhile. Alright, guys, this is, we pretty much got back together. I think we made a big improvement in it. You know, everything has been clean, more or less, is basically the biggest thing. Done a little work on the frets. You know, now since I had the bridge all apart, you know, I got to go back, set the intonation, string height. It's real high action right now. Check the truss rod. You may have to put a shim in it, just looking at it. But, you know, that's about, I don't want to make this video any longer. A lot of time involved in what I've done. And, you know, somebody's probably thinking, you know, man, this thing's a Squier Affinity. You can buy it for, you know, would these people be better off to just bought a new guitar? Well, they already had this. Plus, if they had bought a new one, they would have still had to have it set up. So this one is, you know, going to be completely set up, level frets, action, intonation, pickup height, everything when they get it back. So, you know, yeah, they come out pretty good. So, you know, I take as much time and patience with a guitar like this as I do a more expensive guitar. So, you know, this guy will be as proud of this if it was a brand new custom shop, you know. So, Anyway, it'll make a good guitar, but I'm not going to show all the setup, trying to keep this thing short. YouTube don't like long videos anymore. So if I ever get to the point, of having a Patreon deal, we could do long videos of every little thing. It may be, an hour or two long, but they don't like that no more. So anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody subscribing, liking, thumbs up, all that great stuff. So appreciate everybody. Until next time, see you.